All right, YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a new set of toys that I'm excited to share with you guys because this has kind of been a long time coming from Lumaiii, and that's going to be their new Sunpro light. As you can see, I've had this since November, doing a lot of product testing on this. You can see the big old LED, see how bright that is. But I've been abusing this thing since November. And these I got just around Christmas time. This is the Lumaiii Exodus. This is a collaboration with Mazda spray guns. They're a Japanese company, and they make high quality spray guns, if I do say so myself. This is a 1.5 OP air cap. A lot of guys, when I first got this and made a couple videos on it, were freaked out because it's a 1.5, and they think, oh, that's gonna be a fire hose. It's just gonna over apply, overuse paint. That's not the case at all. If you were to actually measure this out and compare it to, say, a SATA 1.3, they are very, very, very close. And its spray is pretty similar to that. I would say if SATA and Iwata and DeVilbiss had like a weird three-way love child, that's what this would be, because it's hard to explain. Like, it kind of does its own thing. It's pretty dang efficient, and it gives a really good finish, which you guys will see at the end of this video. But the key points of this, it's kind of a package deal that you can buy with the Sunpro. Comes pre-installed with this really nice 3D printed adapter that just is permanently affixed on here. You can take it off if you want to. I just leave mine on. It cleans really easy. I've used this quite a bit, and you can see that the gun is still incredibly clean. And really, I've ran clear coat through this a bunch, ran it through my solvent tank a ton, and even the trigger, I don't know if you guys can see, it's just clean. It stays clean. And it's really easy to affix this little light. So if you see the notch, there's the notch on that. You slide it on and it clicks, and it ain't going anywhere. It stays on there nice and tight. And to remove it, there's just a little tab. Push the tab and it slides right off. So that's the spray gun. Let's talk a little bit more about the light. Now, this light is 98 CRI rated. So what that means is basically it's a super clean, really nice bright light. This is 3,300 lumens on its brightest setting, which is that, and there's 3 different brightness settings. This is a pretty common color match light. If you notice, it says what it's CRI rated right on the front, and that's 95. So while this might be brighter, this is a little bit cleaner, and I don't know if you guys can tell in the video. This light tends to be pretty yellow, so for color matching, it works. This being just a nice, clean, bright white light works a little bit better, and I'll kind of do an example of that when we get out of the booth. It does have sapphire glass in the front of it, which I have dropped this thing. It literally kicked it around the mix room, not on purpose. Dropped it in the solvent tank on accident, and it keeps working. You can see the lens on this. Yeah, you can see that now. Nice big bright LED underneath it, and it works great. And to clean it, I just soak this thing in lacquer thinner and wipe it down, scrub it, and we're good to go. This is also USB rechargeable, and it comes with this little dock. So that's the little dock, and the USB goes right in the bottom. And you can see the notch, you just slide it on there and it's wirelessly charging. This will have a little blue LED when it is charging. I believe it goes green when it's done. But yeah, I just leave this on my toolbox. I recharge it maybe every 4 or 5 days. Usually I'll plug this thing in on Fridays, and then it lasts me all week. So that's the charging system, and that's the new light and the new spray gun. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead. I'm gonna get this Mazda color matched. I made a spray out card with my other version of this. Speaking of that, for base coat, I use a 1.3 OP, and it works fantastic. I'll use that for sealer and for base coat on this Mazda job, and give you guys kind of an example of how that sprays. And then we'll use this 1.5 OP for clear coat. But anyway, let's go outside. I'm gonna color match this Mazda real quick, make sure that my color looks at least blendable, and show you how well this works for that. All right, so we're out at this Mazda. I'm gonna go ahead. This is just VMP and naphtha. I use this as, I call it my gloss sauce. Just shines up so I can see all the pearls and metallics. But here's my spray out card that I made. Just gonna hold it up next to it and verify the color. know if you guys can see that in a video, but this is super, super close. So that's gonna work great for blending. But like I said, this is just a really nice, clean, bright white light that allows you to really see your flop angles, your face, your side tones. So for a dual purpose light that you can also put on your spray gun, it works great. Also, this little thing. All right, guys, so we have sealer loaded up. We're in the booth. I'm gonna get this gun set up. Typically, I spray sealer at about 25 PSI. Now, I don't run this gun full fan, full fluid, however. This is full fan. Pretty massive fan. I tend to like to wind it in about 3/4 of a turn. Perfect. It doesn't look like it's that much of a difference. It just helps to even out the fan so it's wet from top to bottom. And as far as fluid on this one, I'm only about a half a turn in on the fluid. So now that I have everything set up, I'm gonna go ahead and move you guys back. I'm gonna get the front end of this Mazda in sealer, and we'll check out what the results look like. This gun works awesome for sealer. It also works great for base. I set it up a little bit differently for base, so I'll show you that too. But let's go ahead and get sealer laid down. All right, everything's ready to go. Already got this tacked off. I do have my blend taped up. I don't need to blend sealer for this color. Cover's really nice, so single coat of sealer and we'll be rolling on the color. This edge is nice and covered. All right, there's my one coat of sealer. I have a bumper cover to do as well, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that off camera. And then I'll load up my base coat color and we'll be ready to rock and roll. All right, so here's a little closer look at this setup. This is, like I had mentioned before, the 1.3 OP and the new light. It's the brightest setting, mid, dim, and off. Let's go ahead and check out and see what the sealer looks like. All right, so I don't want to get too god-awful close because I did just spray this, but you can see that it laid it out nice and uniform, nice and smooth. That's exactly what I want. I want this sealer to lay down nice and smooth because then my base coat, all my metallics and pearls, will just lay down uniform. I'm gonna let this go through a flash cycle. We'll unmask those doors and get to blending. All right, guys, I got the doors unmasked. Now I'm just going to tack these doors off with my tack rag, spray some base coat blender down, and I've got color loaded in my Exodus, so we'll get color on this thing here in just a minute. All right, so setup for base coat, pretty much the same. The only thing that I'm going to change is my fan adjustment. I turned 1/4 more, so full turn in on the fan. It just tightens up the pattern just a little bit more. I like to spray my waterborne base coat pretty dang wet, so that's why I do that. And yeah, so let's go ahead, get some color laid down, and we'll see how this thing sprays.
That's it, wet on wet, so right back for round 2. This is just more of a half coat now.
Alright, that's two wet on wet coats of base coat laid down. It went pretty well. I mean, we'll really be able to see the difference here once this is dry. The one thing that I always notice with this gun, especially the OP air cap, is that there's very, very little overspray. If you guys rewind it and watch, there's not like a ton of overspray going into the filters. So really the transfer efficiency is there. It's getting all of this paint right on the panel where I need it. So that's kind of nice. I'm gonna go ahead and put my blowers on this after I put some base coat on the bumper cover over there. And we'll let this dehydrate, and then we'll come in and control coat it. And then we'll get into the clear coat version of this, and we'll see how that performs. But I mean, so far so good. Every time I use this, it amazes me how easy this gun is to use. Everything looks awesome. So let's let this dry and we'll see what it looks like. All right guys, so that is base coat all done. I ended up just control coating it off camera because that's not really the point of this video. Got it all smoothed out, lens look good. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the flash cycle on this and let it completely dry before I clear it and bust out the other Exodus gun. But as I had mentioned, my setup for this, pretty straightforward. One turn in on the fan, half a turn in on fluid, and this is for the 1.3 OP and 24, 25-ish PSI. It's really going to depend on the gauge that you're using, but 25 is typically a pretty good starting point. And as you can see, I didn't really get a whole lot of overspray on this guy, but I'll show you real quick how I clean this. Okay, let's go through how I clean this guy. Spray gun cleaner. Hose it up. Everywhere. Soak for a second. I like to use microfiber, they just clean better. Just scrub it up. That's it. It's nice and clean. Ready for clear. Alright guys, so this is all dry. And now we're ready to clear. I grabbed the 1.5 OP. Now the setup on this is a little bit different. I do run about 2 turns in on my fluid and just about the same for my fan. I run it from wide open, about a turn and a half. And that'll just narrow it up just a little bit, makes the fan nice and even, and right about 29 PSI. This one, it's a mover. I mean, it is a 1.5, but that OP air cap, it's not a slow gun. So keep that in mind when you pick one of these up. If it's a little bit too fast for you, wind the fluid in another turn. So start with like 3 turns in from wide open, and then slowly back it out to where you're comfortable. But just about 28 to 32 PSI in that range is a good starting point. It's really gonna depend on the clear coat that you're using. Mine is not super thick, so I like a little bit more pressure just to break it up nice and even, and you'll see at the end of this how nice this actually lays out. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you guys what this looks like. But like I said, I used about 27 to 28 PSI. 2 coats of CC250. This gun works pretty dang well. It does take just a little bit of adjusting, like I had mentioned. Play with the fan setting, play with the fluid, find what works for the clear coat that you're using. And I think you guys will be really happy with this. The coolest part about this whole setup is you can get both the spray gun and one of these lights that you can also buy adapters for all your other spray guns for like 500 bucks. So in reality, that's a pretty dang good deal. Even if you're just getting one for base coat, which is primarily, if I'm being honest, what I use the Sunpro for, is just to ensure that my blends look right and that my base coat is getting the coverage that I need. It works extremely well for that. For clear, I don't use it as much, but I will show you guys what this came out like, and that's, I mean, you can't fault these Exodus guns. They just work. So I guess I'll leave you guys with some panning shots of this job, and yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Alright guys, so here's the finished results. Came out really, really slick. Blends came out nice. I will put links to Lumaiii's website down in the description box. These will be out in March. So if you guys are interested in them, check those links, and I'll catch you on the next one.